for the future of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Barbara Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of New Zealand First, I rise to speak to the minimum wage starting out wage amendment bill. Mr. Speaker, New Zealand First opposes this bill. We oppose it on the grounds that it is an attack against young, vulnerable workers who are just starting out on their working career. Young workers who want to be independent, self-sufficient, often move away from home, and they have very high ideals and hopes. But with this legislation keeping them right down there on the poverty line, they just can't afford to have this hope or any future plans. We at New Zealand First ask the national members, where is the demand for this change? To date, we have heard absolutely nothing from the other side that will help change our mind or ensure that we know why there is going to be this change. Who out there, apart from National and ACT, really want to rob young workers of an extra 20% of their wages? The fact of the matter is that there is no real demand for this change. Youth rates were done away with in the 90s, and as we have heard, employers aren't entirely ecstatic over this change either. With this bill, the government is taking another step towards a low-wage economy, something that we want to move away from. Hard-working Kiwis have faced numerous attacks from this government. They've sold out workers to foreign corporations, they sell off the assets, they change the labour laws to suit their ideology, and now they've mounted an attack on young working New Zealanders. They tax all fringe benefits, looking for money everywhere, and now we've got young people. Is this truly a part of the government's plan to catch up with Australia? This bill is creating a further disincentive for young workers. Is it the way to get ahead? No. Is it the way to bridge the gap between our two countries and entice our young people to stay here and work? Definitely not. Jobs are generated by economic activity, and the reality is that that is not happening here in New Zealand. The National Party and ACT like to talk about bludgers and laziness and people doing nothing. Mr. Banks was saying about paying $4.50 an hour to people who are on the dole for doing nothing. But the bottom line is that he has created this situation of no employment, and it needs to be sorted out, and pretty promptly too. They like to talk about welfare dependence and people relying on the state. Our young workers... We're not talking about Brendan Horan here. The young workers are not bludgers, and I would say that the Minister, the Honourable Simon Bridges, would say that they're not bludgers. They're not out milking the system. They're industrious young Kiwis, and they're trying to get ahead. They're young people trying to get a foothold in the working world, which isn't easy in today's world of fewer and fewer permanent career jobs. Learning life's lessons and learning what money's all about and what it buys is what every young person wants to do. What is this piece of legislation? A slap in the face for young workers, and it's an affront to their dignity. Cheap labour is not the silver bullet that's desperately needed. It won't help young people to be independent and keep a job and get a job. We know in New Zealand First that this is going to do absolutely little to nothing to encourage economic growth, which is what we want, as well as the creation of more jobs. And we're not alone with this particular viewpoint. The Salvation Army too, they rejected suggestions that this bill will support more young people into employment. So if they don't believe it, we definitely don't either. They also reject the viewpoint that this bill will provide more incentives for employers to take on younger workers. And on this occasion, we agree with them. It's our belief in New Zealand First, and on this side of the House, I would say, that irrespective of age, anyone who turns up and puts in the hard work deserves a decent wage. It is the Kiwi way. Here in New Zealand, we were a country that was founded on egalitarian principles. From the very beginning, New Zealanders recognised talent, they recognised good ideas and hard work, irrespective of where it came from. And we believe in New Zealand First in giving credit too, where credit's due. We believe in rewarding the hard-working, the industrious and the innovative, and we believe totally into encouraging New Zealanders into their first jobs. Where are the jobs? No. This bill is not creating them. They're getting harder and harder to find. Throughout New Zealand, the national government have been out trying to woo mum and dads. They've been telling them that they understand how to sort out the government's books because, after all, they come from a business background. They understand business. But while they might understand business, this bill shows they don't understand people. It shows that National basically doesn't care about people's kids. It shows them that they're nasty and mean. They're not providing the brighter future that everybody wanted to believe was coming. We all started off very optimistic, looking for this brighter future, but it isn't here. Gone. The reality is, mums and dads don't want to be paying their kids extra money to top up their wages. 16, 17 and 18-year-olds, they can't afford to pay the extra money. People are poor out there. Groceries are going up, power's going up, petrol's on the rise all of the time, and they want them to be independent and be able to support themselves. And I know that Mr McIndoe agrees with me there totally. They want their kids to be getting after-school jobs. They want them to be having jobs in the weekend and in the holidays. It's what's always happened. We've always had weekend jobs and holiday jobs. They expect them to be learning how to pay their own way, slowly but surely. And in this way, this bill is merely an attack on young workers. It's also an attack on the entire family unit. The bill does nothing to instil young Kiwis with confidence for the future. What it does is denigrate them to the status of second-class workers. What it does is play off 20 to 24-year-olds against 16 to 19-year-olds. What it does is get its parents, all those infamous mum and dad Kiwis, questioning the brighter future that was promised by the national government. New Zealand First is firmly opposed to this piece of legislation. It will not support young people entering the workforce. It's an absolute affront to the young, industrious New Zealanders. It's discriminatory and unfair. It runs contrary to the Kiwi notion of giving everyone a fair go and a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. We need a real plan to get the economy going again, and this is not that plan. And on these grounds, we are proud to oppose this piece of legislation.
Chris Ockenvold.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I was